we're back to 3% inflation in the United States for the first time since January. Gas prices increased by about 8% on a monthly basis. That was the biggest monthly increase in about 2 years. People at the top who have money in the market, they own their homes, they're doing okay. They could absorb these price increases, but a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck, not so much, right?
Amidst the chaos and corruption we've seen within the Trump administration, we also have rising inflation back at 3% as costs across the board are increasing. So if you can, take a moment, leave us a like on the video. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, and let's hop into a CNN segment discussing just this.
We're back to 3% inflation in the United States for the first time since January. So these new numbers out show that prices were up by 0.3% between August and September. That's actually slightly better than expected. However, the annual inflation rate moved in the wrong direction from 2.9% to 3%. And as I mentioned, that is a new 8-month high for inflation. And when you look at the trend, what's important to remember is that inflation was going in the right direction, right? Earlier this year, back in April, inflation went down to 2.3%. That's the dip in the middle of that chart.
I think the bigger thing to look at here is the trends. Biden had inflation dropping by the time he left office. It was consistently dropping under Trump's first months as no policy was being put forth. And then the tariffs come in April, Liberation Day. Do you feel liberated? Are you tired of winning yet? And those got delayed until about May. As you can see with the graph, inflation starts instantly spiking back up after. This makes a one-to-one connection with this inflation spike in Trump's tariffs. It's just the reality of bad MAGA policy that's bad for our economy writ large. And it hurts middle-class Americans by putting an additional tax on them by way of rising costs. So what you have to paint the full big picture is the one big beautiful bill pulls millions off healthcare, increased costs for those who stay on their healthcare, makes other costs more expensive, and then lowers the average household income for the average American. It's matched up with these rising costs across the board now from the tariffs, just making life harder for everyday Americans.
Gasoline prices did go up between August and September, right? So during the month of September, prices were up. In fact, gas prices increased by about 8% on a monthly basis. That was the biggest monthly increase in about 2 years. But this is not just about gas prices, which are, they're still relatively low, even if they went up. They're also, this is about the grocery store, which is another pain point for consumers, and which is also being driven in part by tariffs, because we did see significant increases for a number of different items. Canned vegetables, ham, other items of food went up. But then there's other tariff-exposed items that have gotten more expensive. For example, apparel. Apparel went up by almost 1% on a monthly basis.
They warned this was coming. They warned that it was coming in the fall.
Because so much of the clothes they're imported, so they are exposed to those tariffs.
This is especially important to focus on coming into the holiday season, right? With increased oil costs, obviously energy costs will rise as well. So keeping your homes warm and comfy during Christmas season will be a lot more costly, but also coming into Thanksgiving, it'll be more expensive stocking up for that family dinner that everyone loves to have, everyone should be able to have. For Halloween, these textile costumes will be more costly. Many of them get imported. So getting your child that favorite costume will cost you more because of MAGA policy. And then of course, Christmas, right? Kids might have to go without some of their toys just because their parents can't afford to stock the tree up the way they're used to, or parents might have to break the bank just to provide half a good Christmas that their kids are used to, right? Just because of, again, bad MAGA policy where the rich benefit and the middle class gets left behind.
Appliances, they went up significantly by about 2%, and also some furniture increased significantly. And we know that furniture just got tariffed by the president. So look, you put it all together, inflation is not as bad as some had feared it could be, right? And it's certainly not the nightmare of 3.5 years ago, okay? But at the same time, as you know, inflation, it's cumulative. There's a snowballing effect. So the fact that we're getting uncomfortably high inflation right now, after years of very historically high inflation, that's why this is so painful. And look, it's contributing to the two-speed economy, right? People at the top who have money in the market, they own their homes, they're doing okay. They could absorb these price increases, but a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck, not so much, right?
And this is why you should be weary of any MAGA voters who are trying to brag about how good they have it during times like these, or how, oh, the government shutdown doesn't affect me, or how, oh, you know, what's happening under Trump doesn't matter about the others because I've got my tax cuts, like whatever selfish thinking line it might be, because they're just in the in group. Right? They're the wealthy, the top 10%, the group that isn't reflective of most Americans, because meanwhile, you have brown people getting terrorized in the streets, the LGBTQ getting otherized, and the middle class being minimized with no end to this in sight. Democracy is being overstepped, authoritarianism is being rolled out, and freedoms are being evaporated in front of our eyes as half the country cheers it on because it's the color red and the libs are being destroyed. It's truly insane to see.